All I'm saying is there's something to masochism. I really think there's something to masochism. I told my sons, I said, look, don't be a masochist as far as, or an extreme masochist is what I think I am. When it comes to health, let me specify. Is that good or bad? I don't know. You know, that's my point. You know, I just, when I retired, I was able to, and you know, I think that's all, it's true for all government officials. So anyone who works for the government, right? When you retire, you're like, okay, now I can enjoy whatever pleasures a citizen of whatever location where you live. And that's the thing is, look, that's going to mean something different for everyone. I think there's only seven counties in the United States that have legalized prostitution. But that's also true about a lot of other things. You know, I don't live in a place where everything is legal. I don't. There's places with more liberties as far as consuming anything. I'll just leave it at that. But what I'm trying to tell you is that when I retired from my government job, I was then able to freely be a citizen. And I tried cannabis for the first time. And whenever I try something, I try it full try. You know, I go full, let's say full hog. I tried it, and if someone said, well, what's the point? Well, I think there's something to stepping outside of your body. I think there's something to knowing what it feels like to have your body melt away. The dissolving of the ego. I think there's something to that. I really do believe that. And in that experience, I think it's a humbling experience, because then you don't look at the world the same way you do when you're confined to a human body. And that's why I would absolutely say I'm not a Christian, I'm a Catholic. And what's the distinction? Well, the distinction is that there's levels. And I don't think all the levels go straight up. It's not linear, you know, but there are levels. And I think that as you move through these levels, that there's less and less people. And that last person is the Pope. And that's my belief. That's how I was raised. And even if it's not the Pope, it's one person, a singular person. Call him Jesus Christ. You know, if Jesus would have been thought of or respected, I think he probably would have been the Pope. So that's all I have to say about that. So, and I appreciate the Pope apologizing for all of the atrocities that have occurred, especially in the schools in Canada. You know, I watched 60 Minutes thing talking about how mass graves were found in public schools in Canada. And there's no doubt in my mind, and this was in the 90s, the late 90s, there's no doubt in my mind that we will find mass graves in public schools in the United States as well, because we had the same policies of taking away children from their homes and forcing them to give up their traditional ways of living. Is that right or wrong? I don't know. But at the very least, the Pope apologized and felt compelled to show penance for what the church had done, even though he wasn't the one that was there, or he wasn't even around, or whatever. You know, the thing I hear from politicians is they all say, well, I wasn't here when that happened, so I can't bear any responsibility. No, you took the position. And that's what I appreciate about Mr. Gates. He served under, I believe it was 7 presidents, and he said that not one president that he served under in a security capacity could acknowledge the fact that they made a mistake. And here the Pope is acknowledging mistakes and atrocities that occurred before he even would have even known about anything. And I think that is a true sign that there is something to commitment of faith, you know, and that's what people say. There is a separation in the United States between church and state, but there's not a separation of faith and state. You know, God is spoken about freely. And what is that? That is faith. That's not church. But see, we don't have politicians that are educated. And that's my opinion. They don't understand what they're talking about. There is a separation between church and state, but there doesn't have to be a separation between faith and state. If you believe in God, you should acknowledge it and explain why. To me, that shows that you have thought through your ideas. And that's why I'm here stating that. Because I can see the holes and they're obvious. And I hope there's other people out there, maybe not today, maybe not while I'm alive. Maybe it will be in hundreds or thousands of years down the road, but I hope that maybe one day there's someone who says, you know what? We don't have to hate each other. Maybe we should just look in the mirror and say, look, I'm not perfect. I made a lot of mistakes. But that doesn't change the fact that some things do have value. And if the government wants to say that cannabis, THC, I'm not a chemist, I don't know all of the chemical compounds known in cannabis, but if the federal government is not going to acknowledge any medicinal value, then what kind of organization is that? That's all I'm saying. But I believe that you shouldn't dissolve things. You should have people step in to improve, right? For the first time in American history, and probably world history, I don't know any other country that say, you know what, we're gonna dissolve law and order, and we're gonna see what happens with that. As far as I know, the United States, in whatever 2020 decided, or whenever the insurrection occurred, that in that time frame, that law and order aren't needed, aren't necessary. And I'm really not understanding how we got to that point. I don't know. But if I was an elected official, I wouldn't pass that burden on to someone else and say, look, no, that's something that needs to be addressed. Whether it was somehow in the educational system or somehow a certain significant percent of the population believed that law and order wasn't necessary. Nowhere in history have I ever heard of that ever happening. And I think we owe it to ourselves to look into why that happened. I know Facebook owns Instagram. There was a time I submitted my driver's license because I showed an intention to become an elected official. I was denied that opportunity. But as far as I know, I'm a person. And little by little, I was not lying. I'm staying true to what I said. Very soon, I will have over 10,000 videos on YouTube. Because if Google and Instagram don't want to acknowledge me as a human being, I believe I'm a human being. And I'm more than happy to jump through hoops to show that I am a human being. And there's no hard feelings. You know, no hard feelings if I didn't get that approval. But at the same time, you know, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Thank you.